Good evening to all of you. This is CS Sushant here. Some of the students called me up after their declaration of the results of CA intermediate and CA final examination, and they told me that sir that we are not able to gain the good marks, or some of them have not been able to pass in the paper of theory, that is in the paper of advanced auditing and in the paper of law, both in the CA final and in CA intermediate level. The reasons of not getting the good marks or failing in the paper of theory are: number one, that some of the students are not able to complete their paper on time, that they leave certain questions because of which they lose the marks. Second thing is that what the question is asking, they are not writing those answers which the question is demanding in accordance with the marks. Third thing is the presentation of the answers in the theory paper is very, very important. Rather than presenting the answers in the para form, you should present the answers in the point form. That is, in the points, the answers should be presented, which is not generally done by the candidates in the exam. Another thing is, writing the journal answers or the vague answers will not fetch you any of the marks in the CA final examination and even in CA intermediate exam also, because both of these exams requires the technical knowledge, the expression based knowledge in your paper of theory, which the student does not follow at all, and they are writing the general answers or the journal words and avoiding the technical language that is in the field of law and audit, because both of these paper requires the knowledge of technical words. Okay, don't worry about that whether the pronunciation is right or wrong, or is am or was were. These errors are not taken into the consideration while checking of the examination copies. The main thing which is observed in the CA final examination as well as in the CA intermediate examination is that whether the candidate is able to answer the questions in accordance with the marks which is demanded, in accordance with the question which is written, and also the main thing which is judged out in the examination is that the opinion is formed from the point of view of auditor or not. Because the major mistake which the student is doing in the exam is that they are writing the answer not from the mindset of the auditor, they are writing the general and vague answers from the point of view of management, which is not demanded in these exams. Okay, because each and every question of the paper of audit asks about whether you are right or wrong from the auditor's perspective point of view. Okay, they are not asking the things from the management point of view, that whether the management has done the right thing or management has done the wrong thing. Even if the management has done the right thing or wrong thing, you have to answer out the question on the basis of that what auditor should do on those things. Okay, so when you are not following the rules that how to attempt the paper of law or how to attempt the paper of audit, you will not at all attain the good marks in these exams. Another major problem which I observed is this ABC analysis. I am not able to understand that what is this ABC analysis in the CA final examination or in the CA intermediate examination, because both of these examinations requires the completion of 100% syllabus. Okay, because anything can be asked from anywhere, and in recent papers what I am observing is that since in last 3 to 4 attempts, especially in 3 to 4 attempts, I had observed that the institute is now taking the track of complete practical based questions. They are not trying to take the track of following these stereotype questions. They are giving you the case based questions, the expression based questions, and you have to apply your mindset in understanding these questions, as well as you have to write out the opinion in those questions from the auditor point of view. And when you will do the selective study in these exams, especially in the field of theory, you will not at all be able to gain the good marks in these exams. Another another major problem is that many of the students, at least 90% of the students, do not practice out in writing these theory exams, okay, during the course of their articleship or before appearing into the exams. Okay, now when you are taking the leave from your offices, or when you are studying during the course of your articleship these papers, after finishing up of your classes, you should practice out certain theory questions by way of writing, because unless and until you will not write, you will not practice the theory questions in by way of writing, you will not be able to understand that whether you are writing the things correct or wrong. You will not be able to analyze that whether you are framing the opinion right or wrong. And also, before appearing into the examination, you should practice out the last 3 years exam papers, MTPs, RTPs, which the institute publishes on their website, because you will be and these papers should be solved under the exam conditions, so that you are able to speed up your writing, you are able to know the various factors which affects you in the exam, like lack of memorization, nervousness problem, or the paper leaving problem. All these problems you will overcome when you will solve out the practice papers, when you will solve out the exam papers under the exam conditions. Okay, since all these things are not followed by the candidate, therefore they are failed in their exams. Now, certain things which I am telling you, which you should follow in your exam, so that you do not get panic out, or so that you again don't get failed in your exam. So these points are: point number one, that when you are in the leave means that when you are studying at your home from the articleship, okay, that is 3 months leave which you get as per the institute guidelines. In that duration, you should solve out, first of all, revise the entire concepts, okay, and after revising the concept, you should practice out the questions, that is last 3 years MTP and last 3 years CA exam papers. You should solve it out under the exam conditions, okay, under the exam timings. Like you sit in your exams for 3 hours from 2 to 5, so at home you should appear out in these exams also from 2 to 5, so that that momentum gets maintained out in the exam also. Number one thing. Number two thing is that try to memorize the technical words in theory, okay, like for example, in your answers, the words like materiality, or the words like using the true and fair view opinion, okay. So all these type of technical words should be there in your answers, okay. Don't try to write the general words or the vague language in your answers, okay. Number three thing is that you should know your audit formats, audit report formats, because now the institute is trying to ask many times, in every second or third attempt they ask the questions like drafting of the audit report, drafting of the opinions, which many of the students are not able to attempt out, okay. Another important thing is that, like, the practical aspect, the institute is trying to ask the practical aspects which you have gained during the course of your training, like for example, the GST audit, GSTR 99C, okay, statutory audit, that is tax audit reports, okay. The questions are majorly asked from the tax audit reports in your exams also, because the student who have not read out the format of tax audit report, or who has not done tax audit during the course of their practical training, they will not be able to know how to draft out the opinions in exam also, okay. Another thing is that in CA final, the major importance is given to the standards on auditing as well as to the professional ethics. Is this clear? So in standards of auditing, they try to ask two standards in one question, okay. So you have to understand that which standard is basically asked upon in your exam, and the main matter in the question lies in between of the question, okay. And at the end, they ask you that what factors are there which auditor should understand, whether it is any of the essays, okay. Remember one thing, that in all the standards of auditing, you have to think from the auditor's point of view, not from the management point of view, because you are the auditor, you have to frame the opinion. So understand the things from the auditor point of view. Is this clear to you? Otherwise you will lose the marks in the standards of auditing, okay. And also remember the technical words in the standards of auditing. Don't try to write the paras in the answers, present your answers in the points, understand what the main thing is asked, what the main point is asked in the question, and answer out in accordance with that point only. Don't try to write the entire essay in your answer. Okay, there should be 2 points which should be covered in your essay. Number one, the provision, that is of the essay's provision, and second thing is conclusion, what you think from the auditor's point of view, whether you are right or wrong, whether management is right or wrong from the auditor's point of view. Is this clear to you? This is how the audit paper should be attempted out. Also, mark out the bullet points in your answers, the technical points in your answers. Like if you remember the sections, which is although not required in CA intermediate, even in CA final, if you are not able to remember the section, then don't write it out the sections, but try to write the name of the essay from which you are answering. Okay, because you are writing the paper of law, so you should you should present out the answers properly also. Another thing is, in the paper of law, corporate law, many of the students says that we are not able to present out the answers properly. See, the main thing is that in the paper of corporate laws, the answer should be presented in 3 parts. Number one, provision; number two, case analysis; and number three, conclusion. Then only you will be able to attempt out your then you will be able to get the marks properly. And again, I'm telling you that whether it is a paper of audit, whether it is a paper of law, you have to present your answers in the technical terms, number one, and number two, in the point form. Don't try to run your paper in para form, otherwise it will lead to you in the problems. Another thing is that there are 2 portions in the paper of law and audit. One is descriptive and another is your this objective based question. I request each and every one of you that please try to solve out the descriptive paper first. Okay, and give time to your this objective based questions, that in out of 3 hours, 1 hour should be there for your objective based examination, and 2 hours you should give for your descriptive based examination. And in case if you stuck in any of the question, whether it is in objective or in descriptive, please leave it out. Don't waste your time in understanding that fact. If you are not able to understand the question, if you are not able to present out the answer properly, leave that question at that point of view only and move to the another question, so that your paper does not get weakened up. Okay, you are not nervous up and you leave out your paper because of your nervousness or because of your puzzled upness. Is this clear to you? So please be very careful. So the overall thing is that, number one, practice out the past 3 years question papers in both cases, and also the 3 years RTPs and MTPs as prescribed by the institute. Number two, that solve out all the study material questions in the paper of theory also. Number three, understand the technical words and write out the technical language in your answers. Number four, that in case if you are able to remember the sections, then only write. If not, then please don't write. And in essays also, if you are able to know the essay number, then you should write the essay number. Otherwise, if you remember the essay name, like using the work of an internal auditor or using the work of an expert or communication with those who are charged with the governance, you can write this instead of essay number. Okay, so that you don't lose the marks or you don't get the negative marks in these aspects also. Is this clear? So I hope that you will be able to clear out these things in this attempt, and will be able to clear out your examinations properly also. Thank you very much.